Hello and welcome. I'm Burton Mumma, licensed acupuncturist in Boone, North Carolina. And today I'd like to demonstrate how to cook congee or other grain porridges. One of the advantages of a warm, wet breakfast is that it hydrates you really well. The water that becomes immersed in the grains when you cook it, as I'm going to show you, are like time-released water in your gut. So they are slowed, the water is slowly absorbed in your digestion throughout the morning or after you eat it, whatever time of day, and thoroughly get into your blood, as opposed to water by itself is clearing. It tends to carry things out and doesn't really hydrate at the blood level very well. So a warm, wet breakfast is definitely the way to start the day. My wife and I eat it every morning with vegetables and some leftover meat, other types of proteins, combinations like beans, and we just love it. Lots of butter. So it's very delicious, very easy to cook. I'm going to start with 1 cup of grain, and you will see that it expands into almost 2 quarts of cooked porridge, which is the base for the breakfast. All right, good. Let's get started. This is all you need to cook congee, or in the case of what we're going to do, cooking millet in the same vein. So you can see the yellow millet in the cup. Rice is the one that's officially called congee. It's used for convalescing people in China and anywhere else in the world because it's very, very easy to digest. You're going to need a bland or slightly tasty oil. I like olive oil. Grapeseed oil is another high heat oil that's really good. Unsaturated vegetable oils are not a good choice because they are inflammatory with too many omega-6 fats. So salt is the other thing that's in front there. And obviously the pan, and a water boiler in the back. So if you don't have a water boiler, obviously you can use a pan on the cooktop. Okay, I'll now show you how I start to cook it. Okay, so the first thing, I've got the pan warming on high heat. I'm going to put the grain in, and I'm going to add some olive oil. And really, you just need enough to eventually coat the grains. So it's getting hot. I'm going to grab my wooden spatula back here and then just stir the grains until they all get covered. You'll hear them start to sizzle a little bit. So you want them to all get hot now. So this cooking method is the same way that risotto is cooked. We're going to add fluid to it slowly, but then there's a big twist at the end. So I'm going to add a little bit of salt. You don't need much. It's going to be 2 quarts of fluid eventually, so it can tolerate a lot of salt, but you don't really need that much salt. It's just a matter of taste preference, and you can evolve that as you gain experience cooking this. I just want to make sure all the grains get hot. And then we're going to pour boiling water, already boiling water, into this. And it's going to be exceptionally steamy. Be careful because the steam will burn you, so be ready for it. All right, here comes the hot water, boiling temperature. And you want to put enough in just so the grains are all floating. Like that. And now we're going to let this boil until almost all the water's gone, until it's almost dry. And then we're going to do the same thing again. Just add enough water back so that the grains float one more time. Okay. So here's the status of our grain now. You can see almost all the water's gone. And I've got the water boiling again over here. It's already been boiling, so it should come right up. There it is. And I'm going to do just the same thing again. Just enough to float all the grains. Like that. We're going to do this 2 more times. Okay, so the same thing. The water's almost gone. This is top up number 2. Just that much to float them again. And then this time you're going to need to make sure when you come back. No, we've got one more after this. One more little slight pour after this. Okay, I finally remembered to turn the vent fan off this time. So this is going to be the third and final small pour where you just float the grains. You can hear almost all the water's gone. The same thing, just enough to float the grains. What you're doing with this cooking method is that it slowly starts to release the starch from the grains. So you'll see at the end, there's a lot of liberated starch that is mixed in with the grains. So for this last one, make sure that you have a full 2 quarts of water ready to boil, or boiled already. Okay, this time is almost boiled dry again. And over here, I've got 2 quarts of water that is actually thoroughly boiling. So you can see in this pot, there's a 2-quart mark on that far side. I'm just going to top it all the way up with boiling water up to that 2-quart line. Roundabout, doesn't have to be exact. Okay, now we're going to turn this back down. I know that on this stove top, about 1/4 up from low works. And we're going to cover it. And it will come down to just a sputtering boil, simmer, little roll in it. And I'll leave that for 45 minutes. So we're back after 45 minutes. I'm going to show you this is the rate at which it has been simmering. So there's the finished product. That is properly cooked congee type millet. So I'll let it cool off and then show you one more shot of how it looks with all of the starch on top, and then you'll be ready to eat. So yeah, we're back after several hours of it cooling off. Here's our finished product. You can see the olive oil, and the white is the starch from the grain. So you can mix that up, get it all mixed back into the grain. You can see the grains there. They're very large, fully saturated with water. Timed released water it will be when you digest it. So there's the finished product, and I'll show you in a subsequent video what I do with it to make my breakfast every day. I will put it in containers now, and it will keep in the refrigerator for a good, 5-6 days. And this is enough to last my wife and I about 5 days. Okay, thanks so much. Bye-bye.